Murder. One horrific murder on the Charlotte light rail. Why is there zero coverage from the media? 2, dream school, picking your perfect college. 3, 16 points in 2 minutes. Incredible comeback by the Buffalo Bills over the Baltimore Ravens as we kick off the NFL. It is Will Cain Country, streaming live at the Will Cain Country YouTube channel, on the Fox News Facebook page, terrestrial radio, 3 dozen markets across this great United States of America, but always on demand by subscribing at Apple or on Spotify. Welcome to a new week. Welcome to Will Cain Country. Tinfoil Pat, Two-A-Days Dan, and an absolutely exciting weekend where we put points on the board. You've never seen a more celebrated missed 45-yard field goal. The first header off of a corner, and doves flying on what should be a national holiday as we've opened up dove season. And that's just the weekend for the Cains. We're going to get all into that coming up a little bit later here on Will Cain Country. But let's get right to the biggest story of the weekend, a story that's rocking the nation, a story that is hard to watch but must be heard, a story that has demanded the attention of President Donald Trump. Story number 1. Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte light rail. A young woman, a refugee from Ukraine, walks on to the light rail and simply takes a seat. She makes the mistake of sitting directly in front of DeCarlos Brown. Arrested something like 14 times in his life, something about the presence of this Ukrainian refugee simply provoked DeCarlos Brown. He reaches into his pocket, he pulls out a knife, and he commits murder. Nothing more, nothing less to that story. Just simple, horrific murder. This video is hard to watch, but we're going to play now for you exactly what happened on the Charlotte light rail. Iryna Zyrutska, in her early 20s, walks onto the train and sits down in a 2-person seat. Directly behind her, as I mentioned, is DeCarlos Brown, slumped over in a red hoodie, long braids, head leaning against the window. All of about 15 seconds tops elapses as he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a folding knife. He stands up, he swings, stabbing Iryna in her throat more than once. She's pronounced dead on the scene. Brown walks up and down the train. Many other passengers seem somewhat ignorant of what's gone on. The only way they're alerted as to the situation is he's literally dripping blood all over the plane. Another passenger standing there feels something wet hit his leg and looks down and looks back up and sees blood trailing up and down the middle of the train. DeCarlos Brown was arrested at the hospital. It wasn't his first time being arrested. Brown has been arrested on 14 occasions. His mugshot and his rap sheet, in the words of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, as long as a receipt from CVS. Throughout his life, multiple judges, multiple prosecutors responsible for ensuring that this man remains on the streets of Charlotte. It is absolutely horrific. It's horrific in its randomness and it's horrific in its simplicity. There's absolutely zero provocation. There's absolutely zero expectation. At some point, either because you've become accustomed to seeing an altercation, or you've become accustomed to the justifications after the fact from those that always take the side of the offender. There's simply nothing more to be said than this was random, unexpected, horrific murder. And it is part of a larger conversation. At this point, a conversation we're having in this country about crime, urban crime. Crime that has provoked the federal government and President Donald Trump to suggest it is time to send the National Guard into Washington, D.C. It's time to send the National Guard into Chicago. It's time to send the National Guard into New Orleans. And President Trump was asked about Charlotte.
And there was also a horrible killing recently in Charlotte, where I talked about, and so many others, and we're going to get to the end of it. And you know, when you have horrible killings, you have to take horrible actions, and the actions that we take are nothing. This cashless bail started a wave in our country where a killer kills somebody and is out on the street by the afternoon. In many cases, going out and killing again. Cashless bail, and you.
Crime and cashless bail is not as random as it might appear in this video from Charlotte. New details, new data out of New York City show that most of the crime that occurs on the New York City subway is committed by a total of about 63 individuals. 63 repeat offenders in New York City commit the vast majority of crimes on that subway. And that story is one that is played out across the United States. Last week, we talked to you about the concept of recidivism. The people that commit crimes are a small and chronic group that continue to commit crimes from early life through adulthood. They are the ones that plague our society. These are parasites that prey on the innocent. These are parasites that prey on the civilized. And it is that way in Chicago. It is that way in New York. It is that way in New Orleans. It is that way in your city, in your state. It's that way in America. If you're putting a fine point on it, the victims of most of these crimes are minorities, more often than not, black. And the perpetrators of these crimes are most often minorities, and more often than not, black. If you want to solve the problems of crime in this country, you would start with addressing the truth. But you cannot get the truth from the national media. Elon Musk points out that if you search the New York Times, at least as of early this morning, you would see exactly 0 entries under the name Iryna Zyrutska, the victim in Charlotte. 0 stories. CNN deigned to put it up earlier this morning. They put it, in old school terms of news, below the fold. Below the fold is a newspaper term. You used to receive your newspaper folded in half. The top stories on top of the fold, screaming in headlines. The smaller stories below the fold, the bottom half of the first page. CNN placed the story of Zyrutska this morning below the fold. But at least it was addressed, at least as of early this morning, because here's what you see from the rest of the media. Elon Musk retweeting, "End wokeness." 0 AP stories of this deadly attack. 0 PBS stories. 0 New York Times stories. 0 NPR stories. 0 Wall Street Journal stories of this deadly attack. Senator Ted Cruz of Texas posted, "The corporate media is fundamentally corrupt and dishonest." Why would this story be absolutely missing from your national conversation? Why would you not know unless you were on X? And at this point, unless you were watching Fox News. Why, for example, if we go back to Elon Musk's post on X, why would you get 0 stories about Iryna Zyrutska? But if you search Daniel Penny on the New York Times, you get over 100 results. Why 100 results for Daniel Penny and 0 for Iryna Zyrutska? And the answer, quite simply, is race. Because there is a story, and I mean that in all caps, a story, a narrative that must be told by the media. And this story doesn't fit the all caps story. This story supports Donald Trump's moves to clean up crime in D.C., in Chicago, and in New Orleans. It supports Donald Trump's use of the National Guard. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott. They tell you there is no problem, that this is political. This is manufactured, in the words of former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot. This is being used by Donald Trump to start the federal takeover of the United States. But when Don Lemon ventures onto the streets of Baltimore and asks black residents of Baltimore, what do you think about Donald Trump bringing in the National Guard? He's met with surprise and an answer. I think it would be good. Why? Crime. Is crime bad here? Ooh, it's really bad in Baltimore. By the way, while we're talking about Don Lemon, let's just take a moment to appreciate the journalism that he is conducting today as essentially Johnny for Jesse Watters Primetime. Man on the street, where you don't always know what you're going to get. Here's a little clip of Don Lemon interacting with the people.
How you doing, sir? Good. Can we talk to you? Where are you from? You live in New York?
Who are you?
Don Lemon.
You're a moron, dude.
Thank you. So are you.
Yeah, oh, that's very nice of you to
yeah,
say.
nice to say you.
Except you've never heard anything I've had to say, and I've heard a whole bunch of what you've
I'm glad
had
you
to
watched
say.
me.
No, I don't.
Why?
But you just get clipped everywhere.
I know, but why don't you? You said you don't watch me, but yet you know who I am, and I get clipped.
Before I realized that CNN and MSNBC were full of shit, every once in a while I'd see
What do you watch?
talking. I watch all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, but why do you say CNN and MSNBC are full of?
Because they lie.
But about what? Be
Everything.
specific. What's everything?
Everything.
Give that man the microphone. Give that man a show. That man, by the way, was flawless. There's a little trick in Man on the Street or in journalism that you can use to try to throw somebody who's not used to a camera and a microphone sort of on their heels. Get them wobbling. That man wouldn't wobble. I know you. Yeah, you're a moron. Yeah, well, you're a moron too, says Don Lemon. And the man says in response, yeah, the difference is that I've heard a lot of what you've had to say. You've heard nothing from what I've had to say. I mean, hook, whiff, miss from Lemon. Uppercut from Man on the Street. And it just keeps getting better from there. I've seen you. Oh, you must watch me. Oh, you're one of these people that say they hate me, but you watch me. Always a little nice trick. You assume that anyone who's familiar with you must be a fan. No, you're clipped up and sent everywhere. Usually, I'm sure, under the caption, moron. What an incredible man on the street. By the way, bravo. Nice work, Don Lemon. So if the people of Baltimore and the people of Chicago, if the victims of these crimes, if the residents of these neighborhoods, if black Americans are crying out for help when it comes to crime, then why don't you get to hear about it when there is crime? Well, in part, it's because of charts like the one I'm showing you here today. If you're watching Will Kane Country on YouTube or on Facebook, take a look at your screen. If you're listening on radio or podcast, I'm going to describe for you this meme. It is a meme, it is a chart, and the stats come from the Bureau of Justice Statistics. The top of the chart says interracial violent crime incidents 2025. That's incorrect. From what we can tell, these stats are real, but they come from 2018. And it reads as follows. Picture in your mind, if you can, Hispanic, white, black. On the far right of the graph is Hispanic on black crime, 44,500 for the year. Hispanic on white crime, 365,300. Now let's move to the middle of the graph. White on Hispanic, white on black. White on Hispanic, 207,000. White on black, 59,778. Now we'll move to the far end of the chart. Black on Hispanic and black on white. Black on Hispanic crime, 112,365. Lower than Hispanic on white. Black on Hispanic, third after white on Hispanic. And then black on white crime, 547,948. By far the largest number, by far the biggest bar on this bar graph. But in the foreground of this image is a television screen, a camera, and a camera operator. And it's a zoomed in image through the lens. And all you see are none of these other graphs, not any of these other bars, not any of these other numbers I've just shared with you. Simply the white on black portion of this graph. 59,778, the second lowest number after Hispanic on black. The entire news coverage is devoted to this one category, the second lowest category on your chart. And why is that? Because of the story, all caps, S-T-O-R-Y. What you're told, the narrative, not the facts, but the story. And that is illustrated, once again, by going back to the New York Times and searching Iryna Zyrutska, 0, and searching Daniel Penny, a white man, a former Marine, on the subway that protects other subway riders by subduing a homeless criminal black man who dies in the interaction, and you get over 100 stories. Which one deserves that level of coverage? Which one presents a more realistic, not anecdote, but illustration of the problems that plague our society? I think you know the answer. I think the stats bear it out. I think whether or not you're white, you're black, or you're Hispanic, in your everyday interactions, you know exactly what impacts your quality of life. And your media is corrupt because they are focused on telling you the capitals, S-T-O-R-Y, the narrative, their story. There is no excuse for this lack of coverage. There is no, well, it's a small single crime in one mid-sized regional city. It is part of a story that is now a national conversation. Washington, D.C., Chicago, New Orleans, Los Angeles. And you're hearing from people, white, black, Hispanic, about their quality of life in their cities. Don't give me statistics. Statistics are cold. Statistics are black and white numbers. Statistics do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the people who elect their representatives to implement the will of the people. And what matters the most to people is what? Their quality of life. Can they afford to buy groceries? Can they feel safe walking down the street? If you don't think that's your job in the media, to tell the story of the people, find a new job. Several of you already have, paid directly by the DNC. And if you're a politician that ignores all of this for your own electoral gain by continuing the story, well, hopefully the end of this story is the end of your career in America. For the rest of you there beginning your career, or you have a child who's looking to begin his career, this is certainly a debate right now in the Cain household, where I have a senior in high school. Where's the best place to go? What's the best college? Better yet, what is your dream school? You can open up the U.S. News and World Report, and you can find your top 50. You can focus on Ivy. You can get the reputation. But is there not a separate list, a different list of actual dream schools? If you're from Minnesota, should you go to Princeton or should you go to the University of Minnesota? If you're from Mississippi, should you go to Ole Miss or should you go to Vanderbilt? Let's come up with a new list of actual dream schools. With Jeff Selingo, the author of Dream School, Finding the College That's Right for You. Next on Will Cain Country. You've never seen a more celebrated missed field goal. My boy, Charlie Cain, would have been good from 55, but doinked the upright at 45. It is Will Cain Country, streaming live at the Will Cain Country YouTube channel, the Fox News Facebook page, and always available at Spotify or on Apple. Hey, Jasmine Crockett did weigh in on crime, and it is not to suggest maybe we should have better coverage or maybe politicians should do something or maybe we should send in the National Guard. No, perhaps bad timing for Jasmine Crockett right after this horrific murder, which, by the way, was last month in Charlotte by DeCarlos Brown. She says, you know, not all crimes deserve punishment. We need to actually look for what is causing the failure in the system for a guy like DeCarlos Brown. Here's Jasmine Crockett.
In fact, my elected prosecutor in Dallas County, he kind of caught some flack because he probably shouldn't have said it out loud. But he specifically said, if I get people that are getting charged with a low-level misdemeanor for going and stealing food, diapers, like basic necessities, because they literally can't afford it, He's like,
out of desperation.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not locking you up, right? Like, and granted, like, there is no good point in doing it because a decent defense attorney would have a defense.
Defense would be, hey, I needed it. The excuse for a misdemeanor, the excuse for theft is poverty. You're just a victim of the system. Part of me really wants to make fun of Jasmine Crockett for the fact that she does this interview from home in front of a rack of shoes. Like Imelda Marcos, all she did is sit there and talk in front of literally like 6-10 rows high of shoes. Part of me wants to make fun of it, but the other part of me wants to get a rack of cowboy boots and put them behind me. So I really don't know if I should make fun of Jasmine or embrace Jasmine. Tinfoil Pat, 2-a-days, Dan. Here's how it went down, and this is why it matters right now. 45-yard attempt, winning 14-0. Rarely gets to attempt a field goal, but perfect on extra points. 13 for 13 this year on extra points. Probably puts him among the leaders on his team in small private school football in Dallas. But nonetheless, perfect on extra points. Trotted out for a 45-yarder. There is nothing worse than being a kicker's dad. I can just tell you this. There's nothing worse.
There's so much pressure.
It's like, you know, if your kid plays quarterback, actually quarterback dads, the quarterback dad and I were saying maybe we should just sit together separate from the rest of the parents because it's pretty unforgiving with the quarterback as well. But as a viewer or fan in the stands, you watch so much college and pro football. Better yet, we all watch so much pro football that you expect every level you go down it to look the same, you know? And it's not fair. This is kind of part of the Arch Manning conversation. It's not fair to ask Arch to look like Eli or Peyton. Give him some time. And he, by the way, didn't look great. It's the weirdest thing. He threw for 4 touchdowns this weekend, and you still walk away going, I don't know about Arch. But my point is still, Arch is, 19, 20 years old? And, then you go down to high school. And maybe the best place is offensive and defensive line because that's where you see the breakdown. They're just not what you're used to seeing in the NFL. And yet you're like, yeah, but they're 15, 16 years old, right? But then a kicker comes out there, and you're so used to seeing, Brandon Aubrey or Steelers, Chris Boswell, nail a 60-yarder. You're like, oh, it's just a 40-yarder. It's going to be no problem. It's a 40-yarder.
It's a boot. And
I'm like, oh, my God, he's trying a 45-yarder. First of all, I can't believe they gave him the opportunity. Second, oh, my God. So, here's another thing. The whole operation, the lower you go, the operation, you know what I'm talking about? The snap, the long snap, the hold, the kick, the blocking, the whole thing. It's a jailbreak. It's basically a jailbreak.
So many things
can
go
wrong.
wrong.
Scary as all get out. So many 2-a-days. So many, okay? And, God bless the holder. That job, I actually have a lot of respect for the holder. That's a lot of pressure coming. You got it. Anyway, they put it down, 45 yards. It's up. It's up. Oh, my God. It's got plenty of distance. It's way up there. Is it over? How high is it? Everybody's going, oh, my gosh. And then, doink. And the whole thing rattles, and you can hear the noise as it goes off the top of the upright.
The echo, I'm sure.
And, I couldn't love the other parents in the high school enough. They were all just like, oh, my God, that would have been good from 55, maybe 60. That thing was way up there. And I'm like, yeah, but it's got to go through the uprights.
It didn't go through.
And, I had some friends on the opposing team's sidelines. I went and talked to them, like, oh, my God, your son. I'm like, you guys are so nice. He was so mad. He was like, now I can't say what's your longest ever 45 yards. He's like, I didn't make it.
I wouldn't be able to sleep.
What he hasn't learned yet is this is actually the better story. You know what I mean? Like, you got a story for life here. A lot of people really nice. Like, do you think he can kick in college? I'm like, no. I don't think he wants to. I'm not being mean to him, Ed. We're all just realists. Maybe, hey, if he trained, I saw, whose kicker was it this weekend? It was a high school kicker, a college kicker, and who was it? They said he was working at Home Depot and Amazon deliveries, and they got him to come back. The kickers come out of nowhere these days. Brandon Aubrey came out of nowhere. But my point is, on the colleges, I don't think it's my boy Charlie's path to his dream school. I don't think. I'm not a pessimist, but I think there's another path to his dream school. So let's find out what that might be. Jeff Selingo is the author of Dream School, Finding the College That's Right for You, and he joins us now on Will Kane Country. What's up, Jeff? Glad to have you on the show.
Great to be here, Will. Thanks a lot.
I got your book in the mail. I set it right there on the counter where breakfast is had every morning. I got a senior in high school. I said, maybe here we go. Find your dream school. Let's start here, Jeff. There's a lot of parents and a lot of kids, by the way, and I'm just happen to be in your target demo right now that think about this a lot. There's a certain number of schools that have sort of dominated the mass conception of dream school for a long time. But you've thought about it a different way, and I'm curious, as we get into the details, if you'd share with us what you've kind of come away with or what should be your dream schools. Do you have a list? Like, what's everybody overlooking that could actually be your dream school?
So first of all, when we think of dream schools, we think of those schools at the top of the rankings, U.S. News and World Report, Forbes, Princeton Review. Across the top 10 of those universities, the average acceptance rate is 7%, which means that 93% are getting rejected from those places. So if those are your dream schools, sorry to say, you're probably not getting in. And so my whole conception of dream school was to stop thinking about a single place or a single type of place and really turn it on its head and think about, what do we need college to do for us, right? When we go to college, what do we want from it? And most of all, by the way, students and parents, they all want a job. They want to have a place where their kids are going to make good friends, right? Find their people. Those are the two big things that I heard over and over again. I did a survey of 3,000 plus parents for this book. And all of them, the number one thing they said they wanted their kids to find: a fulfilling job, a good paying job, and good friends. And so I went out and I looked at the data that showed which colleges provide those things, but more than that, which colleges you can actually get into. So I have a list of 75 new dream schools in this book that have an acceptance rate of at least 20%. And many of them have 30, 40, 50, 60, 70%. In other words, these are places that are both good, but more than that, you can get into them.
Okay, of these 75 dream schools that you identify, I don't know if you rank them. If you did rank them, share with me your top 5 to 10. Just as an example, because what I hear you saying and what I take away is the truth is it should be highly tailored to you. And we're going to get into some of the details of why in terms of regionality, cost, size, and so forth. But setting aside the individualized nature of it for a moment, give me some examples. Give me your top 5 to 10.
Okay, so I'm going to give a bunch here. Southern Methodist University, SMU. Florida International University, Michigan State. Everybody thinks of Michigan, Michigan State. The University of Connecticut, Washington State University. So those are some big state universities. Let's throw a few privates in there as well. Let's think about places like Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Denison University nearby in Columbus, St. Olaf up in Minnesota, or Dickinson University in southern Pennsylvania. What all of these places have in common, by the way, beyond the fact that you're able to get in, is we were able to look at data of their graduates 5 and 10 years out. And what you would be amazed at is that their average salaries actually overlap with the average salaries of those from more selective universities. That's the thing. We think that, like, if you go to an Ivy or you go to one of these really hard to get into public universities, that you're going to be way out in front in terms of earnings. And what ends up happening is we over-index on the outliers there. We look at the people who got the highest salaries rather than the average salaries. And when we're talking about average salaries, there's a lot more overlap with these schools.
Okay, I want to dig into a couple of the schools you mentioned because I did see a little bit of a black cat inside of that grouping. I saw a little bit like a black sheep in the herd that didn't quite fit, at least in me trying to make some generalizations from your list. But I'm going to set that aside for just one moment. I want to talk to you about 2 elements, and then we'll come back to the list that you offered. Let's start with something that I preach to my son a lot, and that is the element of regionality. So I went away to college. I'm from Texas. I live in Texas. My career's taken me a few different places in my life. But my culture, my people, and ultimately I think my job market was going to be in Texas. That was the That was the fat part of the bell curve of probabilities for my life. And yet I went away to school in California, a great school that I loved in Pepperdine. But my wife went away in the same way. I have other people in my life I know that have gone away to school. Now, I did it that way, and I know the price you pay in doing that. There's a lot of pros. You expose yourself to different people, different environments. You grow as a human being. But the price that you pay is a sacrifice in the networking and career opportunities and social connections that you make. I have a lot of friends, but I don't get to see them because they're in California or scattered across the country. Where my friends in Texas that went to schools in Texas maintain lifelong, frequent friendships and business networks. So I have preached basically what I think you're preaching as well here, regionality.
No doubt about it. Most kids actually go to college within 75 to 100 miles of home. Like this idea that you're going to go states away like you did doesn't really happen for a lot of people. They're mostly going to look at, a couple of big publics within their state and so forth. And so when we actually put together this list of 75, we made sure that there was kind of geographic diversity because most people are going to go within their region or even within their state. They're also going to look at a mix of publics and privates, right? You went to Pepperdine, a private, but 60% of students are going to go to probably a big public because they want football, Greek life, all that stuff. And so we also wanted to make sure there were a lot of publics on this list as well.
But not just that, not just the likelihood of a kid going to school close to where he's from, but I've said this as well, and I think there's a lot of employers that might disagree with me. I did come back and I went to law school in the state of Texas at the University of Texas, and I would argue, if you came to Dallas, and this applies to any state, I'm not trying to make this particular to Texas. If you grew up in Ohio or Florida or, Arizona, for Texas, I would say that an SMU or a UT law degree is as valuable as a Harvard or Yale law degree. Now, that being said, Harvard and Yale do carry a reputation. They simply do. But you're not gaining that much if your goal is to end up back in your region. You know what I mean? I think that it's not just likelihood and probability, but it's local reputation that matters as well. And I think that probably applies to undergrad. If you live in Florida, what's a University of Florida degree for your potential employment versus a Princeton degree?
Well, think about it, because most of the network is going to be more closely associated with that school within a region, right? Those are the people that are, and we saw this, by the way, in the data that we collected for the book, that most of those graduates are going to go within a certain number of states around that university. That means those people are going to be hiring. They're going to be the hiring managers. They're eventually, by the way, going to move up into senior leadership, CEO, and things like that. And so they're going to be the ones who are going to come back to campus. They're going to help get your resume into the job market and things like that. So you're right. There's no doubt about it that those bonds are much stronger in the regions that you go to. And the other thing that your question brings up is that you can actually go to a quote unquote less selected place as an undergraduate and still go to the Harvards and the Yales of the world. Every year I look at the list of undergraduate colleges that the new class of 1Ls, first year students at Harvard went to. Like, they are a mix of colleges and universities around the country. So you don't have to go to like these top ranked undergraduate colleges. In fact, it's better to be that smaller fish or a big fish in a smaller sea, because you're actually going to do better as an undergraduate, and then you could really knock it out of the park and get into a better graduate school, if that's what you think is a better graduate school.
Well, I'd love to follow up on that for a minute. Big fish, small pond. I feel like I've had conversations with others where they've argued, yeah, but you rise to the level of your competition, and you rise to the level of your surroundings. And I only amend my language there because not everybody is competition. But, if you are the famous saying is what? That you are an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with in your life. That's kind of who you end up being. So isn't that an argument for going to a tougher school and not being the big fish?
It could also work the other way. And in fact, we have data in the book that shows everybody thinks, well, I want to swim along with all the tough fish in the sea, right? Well, it ends up that you go to these schools, first of all, the competition is a lot harder than it was in your local high school. Because remember, your local high school might have, this much of a geographic area. And now you have the rest of the world at some of these highly selected places. they're also really competitive. One of the things I heard from all of these students I talked to is that there's competition to get into every club, every class. It's like a constant competition. And the sharks come out in some of these places, right? And so we saw data in the book that actually, in some cases, you might be better off being that bigger fish, even if it's a bigger sea. I met a mother in Houston whose kid went off to major in electrical engineering at Stanford, ended up dropping out of not only the major, but of Stanford. His backup school was Texas A&M. Given the data on him, he would have actually been better off at Texas A&M, would have had a lot more support from the faculty, because you know what the faculty said to him at Stanford? You're a dime a dozen here. Like, that's okay if you fail, because we have 20 other kids who are going to do better. At Texas A&M, they would have helped him.
So then let's talk about now cost.
Yeah.
There's such a wide range on cost. And this is a little bit why I identified, quite honestly, I identified SMU as your black sheep in the description of others. I can't speak to the cost of the other private institutions that you brought up in Ohio and Pennsylvania, Dickinson, Case Western.
Yeah.
But I mean, SMU is one of the most expensive colleges in the country, as is TCU, as is Pepperdine. And I wonder, my friends and I often talk about this, like, what's the point in it being that expensive? It's so expensive. What are you getting out of that versus a cheaper state school or even a cheaper private school? I mean, for most of the three we just mentioned, you're talking about 80 grand a year, for SMU, TCU, Pepperdine, up to 90 grand a year. That's a lot of money. Is it worth the value?
Well, and it's a question that I ask in the book, and increasingly it's not. A lot of parents are skipping over these schools, even if, by the way, they can afford it, to go to a cheaper out-of-state option. But they're also looking at places that offer them big discounts. The prices that you just quoted, that's right. That's their sticker price. Increasingly, though, in a weird way, they're like any retailer now. They're like Macy's or Kohl's, which, charge this, but give you these coupons that you walk in the door and you get a discount, even if you could afford to pay full price. And that's increasingly what's happening, even at the SMUs of the world, where they're giving you these big discount coupons, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 off that sticker price, because they want you, and they know that even if they give you $20,000 off, you're still going to bring $50,000 or $60,000 in the door, which still is helpful. So many of these private colleges offer these discounts. In fact, the average discount now at an American private college is 55%, half off, essentially. Wow. So a lot of people are not paying that sticker price. Some are.
That's really fair, and I have noticed that. I have noticed, like you said, up to 50% seems not easily, but available if you want to go to one of these more expensive colleges. Okay. Now, we factored regionality in, we factored finance in. You talk about in the book a couple of different things that you should think about, essentially your ROI, your return on investment when it comes to college. And that is internships, skills, and networking. And I would use networking as your contemporaries. So that's your friendship group, your people that you hope to be around for the rest of your life. Internship is sort of networking up, older people getting jobs. And skills. The one, by the way, that I am the least sold on, actually, is skills. Because I still wonder how much college actually gives you in terms of skills and preparedness for the real world. It's often, and maybe because I'm a liberal arts guy, I didn't go biology, I didn't go engineering. It's more teaching you how to think and a broader base of knowledge than you learn your skills on the job. But let's talk about those three things in how you measure your dream school.
Well, we actually found, and you're right, most colleges don't teach real skills, but a lot of the dream schools in my list. So, for example, I mentioned Denison University earlier near Columbus, Ohio. They actually, not only during winter break, but during the summer, offer these skill-based courses that give students like real world skills. They learn how to use, Microsoft Excel, or they might get certified in AWS, or they might get project management certification. They actually give students real skills. So, for example, if you're a history major there, a great liberal arts major, if you're a great history major, most employers will want to know, can you visualize data? Can you give us these really nice visualizations of data? Well, Denison will give you that degree in history, but they will also give you a credential in data visualization, which will help you get a job. In fact, we see this in the data that if you have a degree but have very specific skills, say you're a marketing major, but you know data analytics on top of that. Like if you know, Adobe Photoshop and you're a journalism major or whatever it might be, like those things really help. The problem is most colleges don't teach them. So one of the things I looked at when I was listing these schools is what are those that actually give you real world skills, hands-on skills that employers actually want? Because most colleges don't do that.
But the hard thing about that, Jeff, is that skills are so perishable. I was a broadcast journalism major. I ended up going to law school. But I don't know that anything I necessarily learned as a broadcast journalism major, which is a little bit of a skills-based major, is applicable to what I do. And I'm literally in broadcast journalism today. I'm not sure it's applicable to what I do because, look, nobody's using any tapes around here. No one's, I don't know, all the different things that we did, those are 30 years gone, 20 years
I
gone.
was a broadcast major too, by the way. We used to cut the tape literally for the reel to reel back then, right? Like that is definitely a skill no one uses today.
And by the way, forget broadcast journalism. AI is doing that to every job. So like the nitty gritty skills everybody's learning. Now listen, I want to tip my hat and give respect to the people that learn real school skills in college, like engineers, or doctors. But I actually don't think anybody's safe. Nobody's safe from AI making every skill perishable. So it's like,
you're
no
doubt about it. And I think that's the
flexible
difference
critical
between
thinking.
I think that's the difference between a skill and a degree, right? Like, so the skills I was just pointing out, like a dentist will give you, they're done in like 2 or 3 week courses. They're not the degree itself. They're in addition to the degree. The University of Texas is doing this now in a lot of their majors. So it's not as a replacement for the major. I think the difference for us in broadcast journalism was it was the major. Rather, what this is as integrated into the major in a way. Because you're right, a skill you learn today is probably going to be out of date. I would even argue by the time you even graduate sometimes from college. So what I'm arguing for in this book is that a skill is a add-on or an integrate. I'm not adding on to the number of years, but it's added on to those core courses that you're going to take where you're going to learn about history and economics, learn how to write, learn how to think. Those are much more important over the long run. Yes. And by the way, I think are more durable in a world where AI could do a lot more jobs.
Totally. Kids come to me, by the way, Jeff, and say, "Oh, I think I want to do what you do for a living." And and actually, even at my kids' high school, I think I really disappointed the teacher because I said I don't really think a journalism degree is the thing to pursue, even journalism focused. Now that being said, what journalism can teach someone is how to write. And writing should be the translation of your thoughts, the crystallization, formalization, and laying out of your thoughts. And that's durable. And even if it's not, and even if you have chat bots who write for you, the writing is simply a mechanism for helping you form and lay out your thoughts. So I mean, what I think in this new environment, in this new job market, this new world is that I hope my kids come out of this with is the ability to pivot, turn, be resilient, critically think, analyze opportunity, and doing that from a base of knowledge. And, I don't know. I don't know how to really analyze a school for that, to be honest, Jeff.
Well, I think what you want to do is look at where are they going to get the best professors who are actually going to spend time with them. So one of the things that we talk about in the book, because most parents want their kids to have a mentor. That could be a coach. That could be a advisor to a club. But mostly a lot of times that's going to be a professor because you spend most of the time in college in your classroom.
How do you vet that, though? You don't meet professors during the application process, and you don't even meet professors
you can
during
if you really wanted to.
So
right?
how do you vet professors?
I've been on tours, right? Like ask to go into a class, sit in on a class if you can, right? Like walk down the academic hallways of the offices and see if professors are in their office and knock on a door of a professor that might be in the major that you're thinking about. Ask other students. I always ask other students, like, tell me about your favorite professors. What were your classes like? Have them talk about what worked and what doesn't work in their classes. I think current students, by the way, not the tour guide, but current students, especially in your major, are a wealth of knowledge that most students, because colleges kind of keep you away from them on the tour, most students, if you can find them, and I think you can find them a lot now through LinkedIn and other things, hey, what do you think of this major?
Right.
What do you think of the professors in this major?
Okay, last, what I have come to fully appreciate more, and more than when I was younger, Jeff, is the internship. And you put that in. Because I don't know if other parents are different or other kids are different. I don't think you need to know what you're going to be in your life or what you're going to do at the age of 17 and 18. And college should be a process of figuring that out, you know? And there's no better way to figure that out, I think, than the internship. Like, I think I want to do X for a living. And then you go do an internship and you're like, I definitely don't want to do X for a living. Or I loved Y. And so how do you factor in internships? How easily colleges are placing or how proactive they are in placing kids into various internships and jobs?
I want to go into career services. I want to see where do the kids in my major intern, especially, by the way, that junior to senior year internship is absolutely critical because now most big employers, they don't trust hiring like a kid off the street. And so they really want to hire from their intern pool. So a lot of companies are hiring 75, 80% of their new hires are coming from their intern pool. So you really want to know. And if colleges say, oh, we don't really know, why not? Why don't you know? By the way, that goes back to this mentoring thing. If professors are keeping in touch with students, they should know where their kids last year interned. So that's definitely a question you want to know. And the data again shows you're more likely to be underemployed, meaning in a job that doesn't require a bachelor's degree, if you don't have at least one internship in college. Internships are just critical to getting that job after college.
Let's play a quick game. It's a game that you play in Dream School. You take a young man, William, and I believe he's from the state of Minnesota.
Yep.
And he is, I believe, was it Princeton? He
No,
was considering
Columbia.
or went to Princeton.
Yep. Went to
Columbia.
Yep.
Ivy League, New York City.
Yep.
And positing that against the University of Minnesota, big state school where he's from. Tell me how that works on which actually is his dream school.
So his dream school was Columbia. He gets in. He thinks he won the lottery. He gets there, and as he says, the high of the win wears off very quickly. He can't get into a class that he really wants. His advisor says, oh, you'll be lucky if you get into that class junior year. He wants to do research with the professor. His advisor again says, they don't like undergraduate. That professor doesn't even work with undergraduates, so you're never going to have a chance to do that. Everything's a competition. It's a competition to get into a club on campus. It's a competition to get an internship. You're in New York City, but nobody really wants to have fun and go out because they're all, again, in competition with each other. He goes home at Christmas break. He says to his mom, I want to transfer. At the end of the first year, he transfers to the University of Minnesota. He finds his people. He gets to do research with a professor. He finds the professors just as good as at Columbia. And by the way, paying half the price.
Half the price. Let's do two more. That one you write about in the book. I'm going to give you two others. Yep. And no, this is hard for you because every kid is different, and everybody's experience is different. But yep. Let's take Jasmine from Arizona. Right? She's got Arizona and Arizona State available to her. She's always thought Vanderbilt, another great school, right? Might be her school. Long family, big family in the state of Arizona, which means it's probably going to be a pull back to end up in Arizona. How would you evaluate what would be a dream school for Jasmine? University of Arizona, Arizona State, I don't even know what else, Grand Canyon, versus Vanderbilt.
Well, Arizona State, by the way, will offer her the Barrett Honors College, which is a small college within a big university. So she will have access to being at a small place just like Vanderbilt. And by the way, with quality of students that are on par with Vanderbilt. Hard to believe, by the way, but these honors colleges at big publics are basically private colleges within the big public universities. The other thing is she will be in just as a dynamic of an economy like Nashville in Phoenix. At Arizona State University, because I teach there, and you go around campus and you have.
I was like, this guy knows a lot about Arizona State.
Yeah, well, it's because they have State Farm there. They have a bunch of other big companies right on campus, and so you're going to have a chance to internship. Yep. You're going to have a chance to intern there right on campus. Plus, by the way, you're going to have just as much fun, with the big state university, the football. And being in Phoenix as you would in Nashville. So I'm a big fan. Full disclosure, I teach there. So Big fan of the place.
Okay, let me switch it up because here is something else that I see a lot. I see this a lot. You know, I live in a state, and I'm sorry if sometimes I make this a little bit Texas-focused. It's the place I know the most about. But it's really hard to get in the University of Texas because they've created, honestly, because the legislature, or actually the university system, created an affirmative action workaround. The top 6% rule means if you're in the top 6% of your high school, it's automatic entry. And that just makes it hard if you're not in the top 6% at a very competitive high school or whatever it may be, right? It's just really hard to get in. So what you've seen is a lot of kids, and I tell everybody this all the time, go to Texas Tech. Like in 5 years, Texas Tech is going to be awesome at sports. Their applications are going to go through the roof. Their academic reputation's up. And by the way, you're in the state of Texas, so you have a network. But that's not what kids are doing. Not right now. They are going to Auburn. They are going to Georgia.
And
they
paying
are
twice
going
as
to
much.
big state schools out of state. And so the big out of state school is a very popular option right now. And by the way, it is. All my friends and colleagues live in New York. They're sending their kids to Clemson and South Carolina and Alabama. You know, the SEC is very popular right now because of sports and culture, I would say. But how do you evaluate that? Like state school where I'm from, state school far away. Michigan's another one, right? Michigan's a big draw for people all across the country.
You want to go away, but in many of these places, they're very similar, right? They're going to have big football. In many of these state schools, they're going to have Greek life. They're going to have fun. You're going to be surrounded. You know, all these students say, "Well, I don't want to go to a place where all the kids from my high school went to." But these places are so big that you know you're not going to run into kids who went to high school with you all the time. And by the way, you're going to pay half the price as you would pay in these other places. And so, for the most part, unless you're getting a full scholarship at some of these other places, or you're going to get into their honors college, there's no reason to really trade. And really all the value then is on the college's side, because you know what they're getting? They're getting a student that pays twice as much. They love that, rather than an in-state student who's paying half as much. So the college loves it. It's not to your advantage.
All right. Really good. Last thing, just because I'm curious. You gave me a couple. Private school options that don't break the bank that you think are in a sweet spot. You named a couple like Case Western. I know you so but,
there's
you know, that's
there's
another
a bunch.
that's a category.
So a couple of others. We got Rochester Institute of Technology in upstate New York. We got Macalester College in Minnesota. Another great one. We got Furman University in South Carolina. In Greenville, South Carolina, Elon University in North Carolina, DePaul University in Illinois. These are all places, by the way, that are accessible.
What about these two? I hear these two a lot, Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead.
I hear Swanee and High Point. I often hear those two. What do you think of those two colleges?
Yeah, I mean, they're good. They didn't make my list, but that doesn't, by the way, this list is not meant to be exclusive. There were a lot of colleges that didn't make the list. I had to cut it off somewhere. You know, in Elon and in North Carolina, their outcomes are just really good and less cost.
Less cost, and that's what it often is with private. This is really good. It's certainly applicable to my life. Dream School, Jeff Selingo, finding the college that's right for you. It's out right now. You should check it out. I know it's hard for every parent, every kid out there. My kid's got like 7 he's applying to right now, I would say. 7. So we got to figure out which one, in fact, might be his dream school. We got like 2 months, less, 1 month till the applications are due. A couple months for the decisions, and we'll be relying on Dream School. Thank you so much, Jeff.
No problem. It's great to be with you, Will.
Great to be with you as well. There you go. Check it out again. Dream School, finding the college that's right for you. All right, kickoff. No, not high school football. Although right now it's high school Friday night, college Saturday, pros Sunday and Monday, fantasy football. The Ruthless Country Fantasy Football League is kicked off. Did I go 3-0 this weekend? Come back after the commercial break, because maybe it was 0-3. It's Will Cain Country. What was your favorite game that you watched this weekend? That's what I was just asked by Ed. And the truth is, I really only got to watch much of one game. It is Will Cain Country, streaming live at the Will Cain Country YouTube channel. and the Fox News Facebook page. Hit subscribe at Apple or on Spotify. Jump into the comments section. We'll bring you into the show. The Willisha. 2-a-days Dan, tinfoil Pat. So I didn't get to watch a lot of football, actually, and I saw you guys texting throughout the weekend and, giving me updates on various games. And I know, but I don't regret it at all. I had an awesome weekend. It was very sports-filled. And, Tinfoil's kids are a little younger than mine, although he has a daughter, I believe.
I have a 16-year-old.
The age
of a 14-year-old.
You have a 16-year-old.
It's fascinating to me.
Well, are you kids into sports? Like
watching them or playing them?
No,
so they're two different things.
Playing
them. They like to play. They mostly play them at school. They don't do leagues or anything like that.
So it just dominates your life is the point. But it's such a wonderful domination. I'm going to give you my itinerary really quick. So Fort Worth, Friday night, right after Will Cain show on the Fox News Channel, I drive to Fort Worth, and it's high school football. Saturday morning, my wife drives to Houston for a soccer game, and I have a soccer game in Dallas, 2 different boys, right? Saturday afternoon, I went dove hunting. And, dove season starts September 1st, and it is, I've always said my favorite hunting is duck. Dove is up there. Dove is so fun. I took my oldest son. We went dove hunting Saturday afternoon. So that was during college football. I didn't catch a lot. I caught a little bit of Texas. I ate some this weekend.
What is it like?
Do you know what first of all, this is fun.
It's probably like a little chicken, right?
2 days.
I'm from Connecticut. I don't know.
What is a dove? What does a dove look like?
It's like a pigeon up in New York City that we have.
Smaller. Yes, because you got those fat pigeons on the streets of New York eating bagels.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Smaller. So.
Like a peace dove, like the white ones.
And they're super fast. They're not white, they're gray. They got whitish bellies, but you're thinking of the ones, Jesus.
Yep.
White turtle dove. You're thinking that.
Holy Ghost.
No one's out there, shooting stuff.
Please don't.
Nobody's shooting the Holy Ghost.
Don't shoot those.
But you go dove hunting. It's nice weather. It was 70s, 80s. You wear a T-shirt. You post up in a pasture or a field somewhere. Wild sunflowers is what we have up here. And, starting about 4 p.m., and I know everybody thinks it's 6 to 8 a little later. Honestly, it was earlier for me on Saturday. They were flying heavy at 4 or 5 p.m., trailed off about 6:30. Sunsets at 8:30. They just start flying, man, everywhere. And they're like dive bombers coming in every direction. And they're super fast. And, to be honest, I'm a little rusty on my dove shooting. I should have limited. It's 15.
Use
your
bird
limit
shot?
for the day. Probably only got 6 or 7. Yeah. Bird shot, exactly.
Yeah, I know something.
What is bird shot?
It's a cartridge that has pellets in it, right? You can't really
that's a
kill
shotgun
somebody,
shell.
but you can maim them.
Oh, you could kill somebody.
Oh, really?
There's
birdshot and buckshot. I know that.
So, what's the difference?
One's harder. Buckshot is. I don't know, man. I live in New York. I live in New York.
You're not doing bad. I'm
Okay.
laughing, but you're not doing bad. Not a bullet, right? A bullet is for a handgun or a rifle. A shell.
A shell.
You said cartridge. I'll let you go with that. That's fine. A shotgun shell. A shotgun shell. Inside the shotgun shell, it's full of BBs, right? And you have basically slug through 8. So think of slug as like a 1 or a 0. And then it goes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you can get 7.5 and so forth. At 8, you're going to have a ton of BBs inside that shell, right? But they're all going to be small. So when it's shot, it immediately disperses like this and creates a pattern, a cloud of tiny BBs, right? That's for small animals that move fast because you're not going to pick them off. So you got to create a pattern, right? And try to put your pattern out there where the bird flies into it. As you go down, the bigger the animal, right? So you're hunting a duck. That's a bigger bird. Now you're like in the 6 range, 4 to 6 range of shot. You're going to hunt, some people hunt deer with a shotgun shell. And now you got buckshot. Now you got, or a slug. And a slug is a solid piece of metal that just comes out. You use 7.5 or 8 on dove. they're flying. I mean, and diving. They're like, you know, a kamikaze pilot going every which way. And you shoot a lot. You will. I don't know how many times I missed a lot. So I burned through a lot of shells. But it's social. You can talk. It's warm. It's nice. I sat with my son, and it can be dangerous. Like you said, it can't kill you. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Any gun can kill you. And the dangerous part about dove hunting is everybody's swinging their shotgun every which way because the birds are coming every which way.
No.
And you got to be careful.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Swinging your shotgun into... It is a little... And I had a buddy text me that he had an accident. He said it wasn't catastrophic. It could have been. I haven't heard the story yet. But dove season starts on September 1st in Texas. And so this first week or two, it's everywhere. Shotguns are singing out all over the countryside. And the birds were really good this year for whatever reason. But it's not just the swinging. You get a lot of guys. We had a lot of guys. And, I mean, man, you can hear it. Like, you can hear the percussion in the air. Like, whew, that one was somebody shot in this direction. You can hear it flying through the air. And you can get peppered, too. But the further away you are with this, the less dangerous it is.
Right.
So there was one time, it sounded like rain, but it was, you know, shotgun pellets dropping all around.
They got to come down somewhere.
But that's exactly right. Yeah. Anyway, that was my afternoon on Saturday, so I didn't get to watch a lot of college football. Sunday, I got up and flew to Austin for my other son's second soccer game. He scored a header goal, one of the first in his career. He's 6'2", so he's got to be the guy getting headers. An awesome assist, undefeated on the weekend. So it was awesome. Then we drove back 3 hours from Austin. So I had to listen to pro football in the car until I got back and saw Sunday Night Football. And what a game. What a game. Bills, Ravens. And if I'm being honest with you again, I fell asleep. Bills down by 15 with like,
asleep during games.
4 minutes to go. 4 minutes to go. And Josh Allen engineers the comeback off of a Derrick Henry fumble. I watched the highlights this morning. Incredible.
I almost went to bed.
Incredible game.
I saw the 4 minutes left. I'm like, you know what? And then I was like, it's Josh Allen. Let's watch it. And sure enough.
Well, the stadium started to empty out.
Yeah.
People left. I mean, you don't score 16 points in the final 3-4 minutes and win the game.
Guess you do.
And they
Josh
did.
Allen.
He is him. He is him.
By the way, missed extra point by the Ravens. Mm-hmm. So just remember that when
that last field goal almost got
45-yarders
blocked.
Did it? The Praetors
it was
almost
close.
got blocked.
It was real close. I thought it was about to get blocked, but yeah.
No, it literally was. I think Hamilton touched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't a good football weekend for me, fantasy-wise. It appears, boys.
Same.
I'm in 3 leagues, and I'm starting 0-3. I lost all my games in every league. Every league. I don't know what happened, Ed.
Like poorly?
I don't know.
Like by a lot or just...
Well, I mean, Jamar Chase was one of my guys, and he got 4 points. Brian Thomas got 8 points. He even scored a touchdown. And meanwhile, on my bench, guess who I had on my bench? Keon Coleman, Bills receiver, and he was going crazy last night. But who starts him over Jamar Chase?
I had Travis Etienne on my bench. And also, I had Xavier Worthy knocked out by Taylor Swift's fiance. Thank you very much, Travis Kelce, for knocking Xavier Worthy out of the game on your own team.
Okay. First of all, though, you have DeAndre Swift in our league starting at flex tonight. Why would you not play a receiver? It's a PPR league.
Well, here's why. I'm not a dummy, Patrick. I have a thought process. My thought process, and it's played out halfway through, is that the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, is gone. And he's now in Chicago. And he uses the running back as a receiver. He runs the ball a lot. And I was right about, look at the Lions offense yesterday. Looked bad without Ben Johnson, right? Mm-hmm. Let's not talk about Micah Parsons.
Let's please talk about Micah Parsons. Let's please talk about it.
Excited?
Oh, dude. He looked so good. His standing ovation when he came out in that green. Whoo, baby. I was fired up.
I think he played 29 plays. I think he had, how many pressures? Like 6 pressures, a sack and a half in 29 plays.
Dude, he's so good.
But my thought process is, Patrick, Ben Johnson makes DeAndre Swift a more valuable running back. That's my thought process. And I need 25 points from him tonight.
You play him instead of Henderson. And then you put one of your receivers.
Well, I thought rookie Travion Henderson. I'm hearing good things out of training camp. Well, you worry about your team.
By the way, I picked up.
I don't have to worry about my team. My team's pretty damn good.
I picked up Jaden Blue because of you in my other league. Just so you know.
Do you guys remember, Ed? You weren't around last year. These guys last year, they rode me and made fun of me. I think I started the year like 0-3 or 0-4. Oh, it was the talk of the league. Mr. Hosted Fantasy Football on ESPN. Ask them, Ed. You don't have a mic there. Who won the league? Who won the championship? Boys, go ahead.
Who was it,
Help
Patrick?
the audience out.
I don't know.
Who won?
I can't remember. It was a very long time ago.
Okay, so you split the difference.
So get your licks in now.
The year before, you came in last. So it's like you either boom or bust here.
Will Cain won.
Let me explain to you something.
Will Cain
You count
won.
me out early. That's what you do. I want you to count me out. I want you to. By the way,
like you do it on purpose.
What's our audience look like right now? No one wants to hear about your fantasy football team at a barbecue. No, so we're doing it on a broadcast.
We have a pretty good.
What
People
has
are
happened
staying.
to our numbers?
People are staying right now. They're listening.
Really?
Oh yeah.
God bless you, Willisha.
I mean,
You're sticking through a fantasy football league that you're not a part of. No one
We
wants
have no
to hear about your
graphics
fantasy team
or anything. We can't show anything.
This is exciting. I mean, you're losing to John Ashbrook. So fan of the.
At least I'm not losing to Holmes. I don't want to lose to Holmes from Ruthless because he called NIL nil, and I'm never going to forgive him that. He kept, and I think he did it to a senator that he was asking about regulations. Right? Who was the senator he was asking about?
It was
college football regulations. It
was the Power 4 commissioners.
That's who it was. He's sitting with the Power 4 commissioners of college football, calling it nil. Talk to me about nil. Nil is a score in soccer. Nil is not name, image, and likeness.
He must have heard it somewhere and then ran with it.
I'm just telling you, though,
I don't
right now,
ever want to lose to you, Holmes.
Smug is a ringer, so good luck.
Yeah, his team's kind of.
He's like a professional.
Yeah, his team's kind
He's
of.
got a lot of heavy. He's got a lot of heavy trash talk on the text chain, by the way.
Yep.
All right, but I didn't have a worse weekend than this lady. I don't know her name, but everyone is calling her the Karen. This is a Philadelphia Phillies fan. Give me the details, guys, because it's not in Philly, right, where this went down?
Miami Marlins.
Where did this? It's in Miami. A Philly fan in Miami. Foul ball or home run? Which one is it?
Home run.
Home run. Harrison Bader.
Home run. All right. This ball ends up in the hands of a little kid. Not going to deal with this Karen. Roll the tape.
Following Marsh with a homer of his own.
And Bacher flips a little slider that stays up in the middle of the plate. What happened?
Watch this. So, apparently a little bit of a dispute about the ball. The gentleman says, fine, you take it.
Oh, my God.
Carrot action.
And the Marlins were kind enough to deliver a little consolation prize gift bag to the young fan.
Oh, my gosh. 2 days, you asked who's in the wrong.
Yeah.
I'm ready to break this down. All right. Home run. It lands in the row in front of Karen, okay? But in that same row is this dad, but he's probably 20 seats down, right? No one is sitting in those 20 seats. It's empty. He comes running down. He grabs it. She's trying to lean over a little bit, but he's there first, and he grabs it. He doesn't snatch it out of her hand. He doesn't take it. He just gets it first, and then he walks back to his 20. She is snatching there. She feels like she's close. You can see it's at her fingertips, and he walks it back and gives it to his son. 12, 13 years old. He gives it to his son. She's right on his tail, chases him, and she Karens him. She gets up in his face, yells at him, and God bless his dad. He's quick. He takes it out of his son's glove and hands it to her. He doesn't argue. He's kind of like, what the hell is this lady doing? And hands it to her. She gets the ball. Okay, you want your judgment? 100% in the wrong, Karen.
Yeah. Not even a question. You can go anywhere to grab a foul ball. It wasn't in her hand. Who are you? Like, why do you think it's yours? The entitlement. Have you been to a baseball game before? Have you seen a baseball game before? That is not how it works. And to go over and grab the man physically in front of while he's holding his son, are you nuts? That is unbelievable. I can't. It's crazy.
What do you think she is? She's like 50-something. She's got gray hair. Late 50s?
I think it's I think it's dyed
something like
bleached.
That. Early 50s, yeah.
Roll the tape again while you're talking, Tinfoil. Turn the volume down 2 days. I want to see her hair.
I muted it.
Okay.
I think people
here,
found she's a.
Go ahead, Tinfoil.
Oh, we're not sure. It's still up for debate on that. But the kicker here is that it was the boy's birthday. So she stole it from a boy on his birthday. Yeah.
Bad.
She's got a Karen haircut too, very much.
It's hipster.
Yeah, I think she might be younger. You're right. I think she's gone.
I think it's bleached
silver.
Yeah, bleached silver.
I think she made it silver because the underneath is black.
Mm-hmm.
I know that because she's got the Karen haircut. It's good on the Marlins, right? That's who it was. Gave him a gift package.
And then
and a bat. Yeah.
And then Harrison.
Is that Bryce Harper giving him a bat?
No, Harrison Bader, who hit the home run.
Or was that Harrison Bader?
He met with him after, gave him a bat, and then a CEO of a sportsman company gave them tickets to the World Series and a free RV. The kid and his family.
Whoa, an RV?
An RV. They gave
them an RV?
Yes. He gave him tickets to the World Series and an RV from his company. It's crazy.
God.
Yeah.
I want Karen to come take a baseball from me.
There's a problem here that I think could arise, if I may. People are going to start to stage this stuff to get things.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? You got to be careful.
That is a needle in a haystack opportunity.
Yeah.
You're gonna stage this on the chance that something like this happens.
I'm not saying this is
staged. Your way,
but
all right, bad on you, Karen. Real quickly, bad on Michigan. I just want to say the one college football game I did watch was Saturday night when I got home. OU, Michigan. Didn't watch all of it, watched a lot of it. OU's going to be a problem. OU's good. Not that Michigan is good, starting that freshman quarterback, but John Mateer is good. The Oklahoma quarterback, transfer from Washington State. I'm nervous because my Longhorns didn't look all that awesome. I mean, it's hard to say when you win 38-7 or whatever it is, but didn't look all that awesome against San Jose State. So,
Florida State
going to Austin next weekend. Okay.
Florida State was on the ACC network. Hold on. So I had to watch the Texas game.
We have to end the show.
They didn't look great. I mean, they scored. They scored 4 touchdowns in 5 minutes. But outside of that, it was very, very choppy with Arch. Still, got a lot to do.
Ace. Thank you. Play that out. I don't want to hear about Florida State this season.
I didn't say anything about Florida State.
You sold last year.
Muted.
You sold on the whole sport. That's going to do it for us today. Thanks for hanging out with us on Will Cain Country. Make sure you subscribe at Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube. We will see you again next time.